Twin Ring Motegi for the second race of the NASCAR International Cup Series playoff. We have LGD in first, Morrison Jr. in second, Fontaine in third, Rada in fourth. So there are infinite amount of lines you can take on this track. You would see the cars going 3, even 4 wide throughout this first couple of laps. And we are underway here. As you can see, many of the drivers are taking a lot of different lanes. Morrison Jr. on the outside, but it's the 8 of LGD that's going to get the hold shot into turn 1. Martin now goes out into the outside. Twin Ring Motegi is a lot like Darlington. Turns 3 and 4 are way tighter than turns 1 and 2. As you can see here, there is going to be a lot of brake checking, but everyone seems to get through there clean. Coming out of turn 1, it will be the 8 of Luis Gustavo de Marza to take it. But look at Martin onto the inside of Fontaine. What a move. And because of that, he's going to work his way up to the 4th spot. And now Steve Rada has actually gotten past LGD. Coming into the inside here at lap 2 is Levante Mari. No, but Huckleberry cuts him off. It will be Steve Rada who takes lap 2. LGD has fallen to 3rd. Gets the side draft from the 70 there. Telling him that you're not going to want to block me again. Coming into turn 1 here at lap 3, it's Pasquale on the outside of Martin now. The 39 of Ross is doing pretty good. Qualified in the pole. But started in 11th because she is not a playoff racer, but she is now in the top 5. But it's LGD has lost a couple of bit of spots here since the start of this race. And the 57 of Blaine Harrell is doing really good as well. If you look into the back of the pack, we haven't had any issues yet. Everyone is still relatively clean despite racing 5 wide in the back. Steve Rada still takes lap 4. It's a pretty considerable gap under Dustin Morrison Jr. It is now basically exactly a second. And they are flying by the rest of the pack. Ross and Kronberg aren't even close. And Ross is pulling off a pretty good race. 3rd place here, splitting between the top 10 drivers. Cottle looking to go on the inside of Martin. Cottle, who just missed out on the playoffs because of a good move from Bill Edgewater 2 races ago. And now Martin dives into the outside. He finished last out of the playoff drivers in Suzuka, and that let the 8 of LGD just get ever so few points behind him. But the 8 of LGD has fallen off hard. This is not one of his strong tracks. He has fallen all the way back to 18th despite starting in the pole. And to make matters even worse, Bill Edgewater is even further behind. He is slightly above Dustin Keys. He is currently in 29th. The leader, however, of Steve Rada is still ahead of Morrison Jr. These drivers are now taking lap 9. You can see that they are all 3 wide here. Just trying to find a good lane to take. Steve Rada has increased his lead by almost a second and a half there. 4 wide coming into turn 4. Dustin Morrison Jr. has come into pit. Morrison Jr. was in second coming into the pit stall. Is that going to let the 3 of Rada get a little bit more speed before he comes into pit road? Morrison Jr. is now in. Is Rada going to pit now, or does he have to wait? Here's Rada. And yes, he is coming in right now. Morrison Jr. should be on his way out. Not yet. Looks like he has taken all 4 tires, and now he's going to leave the pit stall. And here comes some of the others. Huckleberry in, Baker, Pasquale, Johnson, Brown. A lot of the drivers have come in. Martin has stayed out. He's waited till that. Oh, here was an accident here between 31 of the 99 made contact trying to get to their stall, but miraculously still get in just fine. And now it's Levante Martin's turn. This will let Dustin Morrison Jr. take the lead. Martin is in. Now is the 3 of Rada going to work his way out? Is Morrison Jr. going to beat him? It looks like Morrison Jr. has not beaten Rada. And that's going to keep the gap pretty significant. Oh, and Rada's coming in again. I think he got black flag for speeding. The speed limit is 55. He must have been going too fast entering or too fast exiting. So now because of the penalty, Dustin Morrison Jr. has the lead. Martin has just left the pit stall as well as Fontaine. Now that I look about it, a lot of the drivers are coming back in. I don't know if they all thought the speed limit was 60 or not, but it looks like almost every driver is coming back into pit. Martin has just left. I don't think he got black flag. This is what happens when you don't read the rule book before a race starts. Dustin Morrison Jr. got the memo, and now he's in the lead by a long shot. Six laps to go, and you can see how, look at the standings. Only 5 cars got pitting right the first time, and that is Morrison Jr., Hopkins, Morrison Jr., Cottle, Baker, Martin, and Hopkins. There is Jeremy Cottle, who is a couple seconds behind Morrison Jr., but Morrison Jr. is really only about the 70 of Martin, who is 10 seconds behind. You can see he is way over there. Morrison Jr. just crossed the line, and Morrison Jr. is going into turn 1. Martin is going out of turn 4. It's home free for Dustin Morrison Jr. And now you can see all the cars who are serving their penalties. Dustin Morrison Jr. is leading a pack of lap cars. It is not Noonan who is in second. It is Martin who is 10 seconds behind. Well, second out of the playoff drivers, it's Cottle who is in second, if you're going in literal terms. Four laps to go. Do we have any good racing here between drivers who are a lap down? It doesn't really quite look like it, except we have LGD and Fontaine. Where are they in the standings? Are they... No, LGD is actually running in 29th. He is actually 3 laps down because of the damage he had to deal with earlier. A disastrous race for the 8, which is definitely not going to help. Now there are some cars who are 2 laps down. Kronberg is the last car that's 1 lap down. The 44 of Pasquale is also a lap down. He doesn't really have any competition by him because the 52 of Johnson is... Let's see, the 52 of Johnson is... Where's the 52? I cannot find the 52. I'm probably blind. The 52 of John, there he is. He's in 16th. He is also 2 laps down. So really, the field has already been settled unless you want to look in this battle between Edgewater and Fontaine. No, Fontaine's only 1 lap down. Jesus, these drivers really need to learn the rules of the race before it starts. Morrison Jr. has decreased his gap from Cottle. Cottle is faster. But that doesn't matter now because unless Martin can make up 12 seconds in 2 laps, Morrison Jr. is going to tie.
Why do people say heads up?
Unless Levante Martin can make up 12 laps and 12 seconds in 3 laps, Dustin Morrison Jr. is going to be home free, and he's going to tie Martin for the most wins this season. Cottle onto the outside, though, looking for a very impressive second-place finish. The 3 of Baker, who is way behind, is going to be in 3rd. Martin there on the outside, he could pass Baker. But other than that, the field has been settled. Unless the 44 and the 16 get close together, let's see. No, they're nowhere near each other. 2 laps to go. Yeah, the 44 is a pretty good distance from the 16, so the field has basically been set for this race. It is the three of Rada who has the fastest lap out of the playoff drivers, so he'll get a bonus 10 points. But Dustin Morrison Jr. has just a lap and a half to go to get his fourth win of the season. After burning basically mid-pack for the first half of the season, he proceeded to win 3 races in a row to get himself into the playoffs, and now this is going to increase his chances of getting that title. He swore he had got a good chance of winning even more. A mile to go for Morrison Jr. Coming into turn 3 for the last time. This is what happens when you actually learn how to obey pit rules. Dustin, despite a race that seems dominant by Rada, it is Morrison Jr. who's going to win here. Martin second out of the playoff drivers, and the rest, well, are really the rest. We will see how they finish at the end. Looks like Fontaine will be in third, Pasquale fourth, and Kromberg in fifth. Rada will get the fastest lap bonus. A pretty impressive race here in Queensland, Motegi, despite 27 of the 31 drivers not knowing how to pit.